Some queens wore their crowns like halos. Others wore them like bloody wreaths. Tonight, we journey through history's darkest corridors, where queens rose to unimaginable heights and committed unthinkable horrors. Now, before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. Now, let's jump straight into our top 10 most brutal queens. 10. Empress Wu Zetian, c. 624 to 705, China. Born in 624 CE in Lizhou, Wu Zetian rose from a low-ranking concubine to the only woman to ever rule China as emperor. Her ambition knew no bounds. She allegedly strangled her own newborn daughter to frame the empress and climb the imperial ladder. Once in power, Wu unleashed a network of secret police to hunt down enemies, employing mass torture and executions. Entire noble families vanished under her reign, their bloodlines extinguished to protect her rule. Wu ruled until she was forced to abdicate shortly before her death in 705. Despite her brutality, her reign also saw cultural flourishing, a dark paradox that leaves historians both horrified and awed. Wu died peacefully, but the whispers of the blood she spilled would echo for centuries. 9th. Queen Ranavalona, I. 1778 to 1861, Madagascar. Born around 1778 in Madagascar, Ranavalona seized control after the death of her husband and immediately began a reign of terror. She expelled foreigners, executed Christian converts, and reinstated deadly traditional trials like the Tangina, where accused subjects swallowed poison to prove innocence, leading to tens of thousands of deaths. Her massive forced labor projects devastated the population, leading to the deaths of up to half of Madagascar's people. Despite plots against her and mass suffering, Ranavalona died peacefully in 1861, untouched by the ruin she had sown. To her enemies, she was a tyrant. To her supporters, a protector of Madagascar's independence. But all agreed, few rulers ever wielded cruelty so deliberately. 8th. Countess Elizabeth Bathory, 1560 to 1614, Hungary. Born in 1560 in the Kingdom of Hungary, Elizabeth Bathory became infamous for atrocities that blurred the line between fact and nightmare. She lured peasant girls to her castle with promises of work, only to torture them, beating, burning, and mutilating victims in cruel rituals. Rumors, darker still, claimed she bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth. Secret torture chambers and hidden graveyards hinted at a body count in the hundreds. In 1611, her crimes finally caught up with her. Though her noble status spared her a public execution, she was sealed inside her own castle. She died 3 years later in 1614, walled away from the world, a living ghost of her own monstrous legend. 7th. Queen Mary I, Bloody Mary. Born in 1516 at Greenwich Palace in England, Queen Mary Tudor fought desperately to restore Catholicism to Protestant England. In doing so, she earned her bloody nickname. Nearly 300 Protestants were burned alive during her reign. She ordered the beheading of Lady Jane Grey, her teenage cousin, and her political purges filled prisons and scaffolds with the dead. It's said Mary found grim satisfaction in the public execution she ordered. Mary's health deteriorated rapidly, plagued by phantom pregnancies and illness. She died in 1558, likely from uterine cancer, with her dreams of Catholic England undone. Her name would live on, immortalized in terror and folklore, whispered into mirrors by children daring to summon her ghost. 6th. Queen Isabella I. Born in 1451 in Castile, Spain, Isabella rose to forge one of history's most powerful empires at an unbearable human cost. She established the Spanish Inquisition, an era of religious terror marked by torture, forced conversions, and public executions. She expelled Spain's Jews in 1492, devastating communities centuries old. That same year, she funded Columbus's voyage, ushering in conquest, colonization, and indigenous genocide. Isabella died in 1504 after years of declining health, believing herself God's chosen queen. But to millions who suffered under her reign, Her legacy was not piety, but righteous cruelty written in fire and blood across continents. 5th, Queen Dido, legendary, 9th century BCE, Carthage. Though her existence is rooted in myth, Dido of Tyre, founder of Carthage, is remembered as a queen of fierce cunning and cold vengeance. Legend claims she tricked a Libyan king into granting her as much land as an ox hide could cover, then cut the hide into strips to encircle an entire city. Betrayed by the Trojan hero Aeneas, she built a funeral pyre, plunged a sword into her heart, and cursed Rome with her dying breath. Dido's death marked the birth of Carthage and seeded the hatred that would spark the Punic Wars centuries later. In life and in death, Dido was the architect of an empire built on cleverness, sacrifice, and fury. 4th, Queen Olga of Kiev. Born around 890 in Pskov, Russia, Olga of Kiev redefined vengeance. After her husband's murder by a neighboring tribe, she responded with horrifying precision, burying emissaries alive, burning enemy leaders at a false feast, and setting entire villages ablaze with flaming birds. The deaths numbered in the thousands, and no amount of tribute or submission could quench her wrath. Olga later converted to Christianity, becoming one of the first Rus leaders to embrace the new faith. She died peacefully in 969, canonized as a saint, a paradoxical legacy where sainthood rose from a sea of ash and blood. 3rd, Catherine de' Medici. Born in 1519 into the powerful Medici family in France, Catherine's marriage to Henry II of France positioned her at the center of European politics. As Queen Mother, she orchestrated alliances, betrayals, and assassinations. The bloodiest stain on her legacy is the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre of 1572, where thousands of Protestants were butchered in Paris. She was rumored to maintain a network of beautiful female spies and dabble in the occult and poisoncraft. Catherine died in 1589 from illness, worn down by years of intrigue and grief. Her shadow loomed large over France, a queen remembered less for her loyalty than her mastery of deadly politics. 2nd, Queen Nzinga, circa 1583-1663, Angola. Born around 1583 in Angola, Nzinga was a master strategist and ruthless ruler who fought Portuguese colonizers with wit and warfare. When denied a seat at negotiations, she used a kneeling servant as her human throne, a lasting symbol of defiance. Nzinga betrayed allies when necessary, orchestrated assassinations of rivals, and maintained brutal control over her own people, reportedly sacrificing slaves to maintain favor with the spirits. Nzinga died peacefully in 1663 after a reign marked by blood and brilliance. Though remembered as a fierce defender of her people, the iron fist she ruled with left scars that time could not erase. 1st, Empress Irene of Athens. Born around 752 in Athens, Irene rose to power through calculated cruelty. When her son Constantine VI grew too independent, she ordered his capture and had him blinded so savagely that he died of his wounds, ensuring no challenge to her rule. Irene purged her court of opposition and was rumored to have considered marrying Charlemagne, Emperor of the West, to consolidate her power, a plot that terrified the Byzantines. In 802, she was deposed and exiled, dying in 803 in isolation and poverty. Once Empress of the East, she ended her life powerless and forgotten, a stark punishment for a mother's monstrous ambition. And that's it for our top 10. Thank you for stepping into the dark with us. If we missed a ruler whose cruelty still echoes through time, tell us, if you dare, down in the comments below, and whisper to us what story you'd like to see next. Because in the end, history never forgets, and neither do we.